Hello, welcome to another episode of Learning with Crimellgrim. We're gonna draw heads today. Getting ahead of the game. Alright. It's not just gonna be heads, I guess. I mean, it's like the whole like head with face and hair and stuff. I don't think you can teach how to draw all hair possible. You can like teach how to do straight and curly hair, and then everything in between is like, short, long. There's too many hairstyles that you can go for. I feel like you just need a reference of the hair you want, and then you can do it pretty much once you've drawn enough, right? It might not look good though. Like you might have to do several iterations of hair. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just proportioning the face, right? And you should probably do this as well. If you don't know how to do head, always proportion it out. First you put it in half, then, I think I already covered this. But there's like this line here. So you put it in two halves, and then you can draw the eyes sort of here. Eyebrows are sort of here. Around the top side. Yeah. This is about right. I could put this in there. I think the ear does go slightly either below or above the eyebrows, but if it's like in the general area, it's fine. It's not a big deal if it's slightly wrong, slightly off. It won't be really noticeable. And I'm pretty sure since like anatomy varies, some people have it a little higher anyway. There's definitely different ears for different people. There's not really much explanation I can be doing while I'm doing this. I mean, it's just you draw the parts and then it either looks good or it doesn't, right? It's not like theory I can explain to you as to why certain things look good and certain things don't. But I think like for starters, I'll just start off with drawing this face and giving you sort of an idea how to do it as you can watch and draw along there. Then afterwards, we'll do the individual parts of the face a bit more in detail. Today I'll just cover human faces. Next week I'll do one on anthropomorphic faces, and maybe like even something plus something else. I don't know. Like there's you can have monsters and stuff, though I'm not too experienced with monsters. They're a bit monster faces are a bit more abstract, right? They're not supposed to adhere to any laws or anything. They're supposed to be unsettling or like they're gigantic. This head looks a bit okay. With the eyes, let's go a bit more realistic to begin with. Maybe. Alright, let's not go anime. So, an actual eye is a bit smaller. In a drawing, it might be bigger than a real eye. Just because drawings things look different than in real life. Or a better way to say it is some things don't look good on a drawing, even if they look a certain way in real life. But I think I talked about that also. So that's not too much. Pupil. There you go. You can do the eyelid. Yeah, that's cool. Now, because this is the way it is, I think we need to move the eyebrow a bit lower. Or maybe move the eyes a bit higher. I think that's what we'll go with. So since we already have this already drawn out, I'm going to erase the helper lines that I did. Just so we have a more clear image of what we're doing here. And if I need to change anything, so that I'm not misguiding you on this signature here, that would be hard to draw. Okay. Yeah. Now, technically it doesn't look wrong, right? It doesn't look too wrong, but I'm gonna move these eyes slightly higher up, just so that it's a bit more how it is in reality, right? Now this one eye looks a bit wonky. Fix it a little bit. He looks a bit sleepy. Yeah. There we go. I think this is alright. I think this works. Alright. We got our basic shape, right? Now we kept like most of the circle. I kind of cut off like the top part here, and there was like a bit more extra there. But we don't need that, right? Because technically like the forehead is like this more, or like this, I guess. But we don't need it. Okay. Now you can add like this, depending on how pronounced that is. If they're like, if it's not visible, then now here's the thing. Here, I think we need to do this, because it's not just like a perfect circular form here. You do get wider at the top. So this is what we gotta do. It's like a little bit of a bump here at the eyebrow area. And then zoom it out a little bit. Boom, boom. Right? Yeah. Now this looks stupid because one side is fine and then the other one isn't, and now we have like kind of this kind of shape, right? Which makes no sense, right? I'm gonna delete this, right? I'll just do it on the other side. Hopefully I get it right first try. And if not, we always have copy paste, right? No problem. Always got copy paste. Unless you're drawing traditional, then good luck to you. Unless you draw the same thing. That's good. If you are doing traditional, just don't sketch too strongly so that you can erase very soft lines. Okay, see, and now we move the ear down because we also move the eyebrow down. And we move the eyebrow down because it, made sense. Okay, now we need a chin, right? Can't be leafy, right? Nobody wants to have that leafy chin, so you gotta add that chin, right? Alright. Pom pom pom. Pom pom pom. This is feeling to me more like a male face, so I think I'm make it a man, but technically it's kind of gender neutral at this point. You could technically turn it into anything. Right. Let's add some here to this dude. Right. Do some of this. I forgot what it was called, like the method for doing this, but you basically you draw like a hook. Right. So let's say this is your ear, right? Then there you go. You have a hook. Right? You just add like a thing here, and then you add like a line like this. That's basically it. Yeah. There is like an indent here on your head. And that's pretty much it. There's technically two, right? Let me just figure that out. Goes like this. This is the first one, and then there's the second one. Not sure. It's a bit janky right now. These are also kind of big ears that I drew. Maybe making it so. The bigger the ear, the more detail you have to put in it. I'm not sure about your ear game. I'll just draw them smaller. Not too small though. Alright. Eyebrows. How do they work? Simple. Right? The start of the eyebrow is thick. Right? So we'll give them like really thick eyebrows. And then the end of the eyebrow is really thin. Now, a lot of people don't do that. Like you see on a lot of drawings that it's the opposite. It's like this. For some reason. Yeah. That's wrong. Or they'll do like this, where the middle part is the thickest. No, this is wrong, and then this is wrong, right? So, I mean, you can do it if you like the aesthetic of it. You can do it. You don't need to do something just because it's anatomically correct. If you like the aesthetic, go for it, right? Just if someone calls you out on it, just tell them, look, I know, I just like how this looks, right? Then maybe someone gets triggered over it. Can't please everyone. As long as you like your art, that's okay. We're gonna erase part of the nose. I already explained this, but you never want a full hard line when you're drawing the nose. It never looks good. Same thing. Already explained with the lips. You don't want a hard line with the lips, so we're gonna erase part of it. So now, how you know what to erase, what not to erase? I'd recommend you just play around with it. I think the less you keep, the more it's gonna look proper. As long as you indicate the shape, or enough of the shape. You have to indicate enough of the shape. Knowing what to delete is just, trial and error, right? My advice if you're doing it digitally is to just draw it, both the nose and the lips, draw it, right? Put it in a layer, and then just duplicate those layers, right? For each attempt, just duplicate the layer, and then hide the layer, and just I'll show you what I mean. So look at where my cursor is right now, right? New layer, right? You draw nose. I'll just draw a simple one, and I'll draw some simple lips too, just so we don't waste too much time. Let's say that's your nose, those are your lips, right? You click. much work. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, I know why. I updated my drivers so my hotkeys changed. At least I have it on the other buttons, so it's all good. See, and we duplicate it, right? Now this is the layer that we duplicate every time, and then we only edit duplications, right? Now you don't want both layers visible because then if you delete something, you don't see what you did. So you hide the layer that you duplicate for the attempts, and then you work on the duplicate layer. I hope it made sense what I explained just now, but yeah. Then you can do stuff, you can experiment. Instead of wasting time redrawing every time, you can just, use the tools you have been given by the program. It's pretty good. It's pretty good for learning and stuff. If you wanna just experiment, just copy, paste, and there you go. That's what I mean, right? So in case you didn't understand, there you go. Okay, we got a face kind of going right here. How are we gonna do here? I think we're gonna go with, why is it? No. Is my thing glitched out? I think it glitched out. Just a sec. Alright, technical difficulties, gotta love it. I'm gonna have to, I think reset my drivers. Okay. 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 Yeah, drivers work again. Cool. Good. So, when you're doing here, and this would be part of like the silhouette training that I was talking about, you wanna do the silhouette of it first, most likely. So you want to do the silhouette, right? I'm gonna go for like maybe this here. It's like this. I'm just showing you in advance like what the basic shape is. I think this will be the silhouette, right? Now you could also do like a bowl cut would be like like this, and then boom. And you could also do you also have side bangs. It's like a jellyfish basically. A bowl cut is like a jellyfish, unless you like cut this part also. Usually you have a little bit of hair next to your stuff. And then if you add the beard, you can also add the beard too. But we're going with the triangle for now. So I'm gonna draw the silhouette. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Now we're gonna say that the hair is too short to be visible behind You know, you could do like this. You know. But I'm saying no to that for now. Okay. So we have the hair silhouette. Now we erase so that it's actually just the hair. One image. Okay. Now we're gonna detail the hair, right? How do we do that, right? Since we know the flow of the hair, it flows like this into one point. So it's always going towards this point, right? The only exception is like where the hair meets the skin. We can do like this. Little spikies. Yeah. Yeah. Now we erase the line. You remember this haircut being very popular for a very long time. I think because either David Beckham had it or something. I don't know. I know that someone famous had this haircut, and then everyone started to have this haircut or hairstyle. Yeah, hairstyle. Yeah, and all you do is you gel up your hair, and then you make a pyramid. I think it might still be popular, actually. I'm not sure. I know Skrillex's hair was popular for a while too. Most people, I guess, like Skrillex. I don't know. Too bad, like the hair people. What do they call hairdressers? They don't get any credit for like making like a new hairstyle, and then it being popular. I don't think. Like, if there's like an art form that's like underappreciated, I'd definitely say it'd be hairstylist, because even if a hairstyle gets popular, nobody knows who invented it. At least I don't think so. Maybe in the hair world, like maybe if you're a hairstylist, you know, but yeah, definitely not common knowledge. Which hairstylists? I'm not I wouldn't know a single haircut that's been invented by anyone. So. There might be haircuts that are named after people, but I doubt there's a haircut that's named after a hairstylist, right? I'm sure like the haircut Skrillex has, it was just like he did it himself to himself. Because I don't think a hairstylist would just be like, let's shave half of your head. Right? And then only grow like one part of your hair. Yeah. There you go. We got it. It might be a bit too tall. This one. Let's go with this a bit more mild color. So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna make the hair look a bit more three-dimensional, so that it's not just a spike up, you know. So what we'll do, start simple. I'm gonna give it 2 layers. One top of the head layer, and then one under the head layer. I'm not talking about like actual program layers. No, I'm talking about like ones on top, ones on the bottom. Okay. So to do this, we have to kind of change the perspective of this. There we go. Here. This flat. Flatter. Okay. So we are spending quite a lot of time on the hair, but that is fine. The hair also looks good, right? It's mostly the face that's important, but you know, if you don't have nice hair, that definitely shows. I don't really know what it looks like until I zoom up, but I think it's better than before. Most likely. Most likely it's better than before. Let's see. Yeah, it looks a bit better. Yeah. I'm still not really happy with it, but you know, it's there. Okay. So there we go. We got our hair. We got our head. Okay. That's one angle, right? I'm not gonna draw like here for every face. I'll do like eyes and nose and stuff, alright? So here's your like baseline, right? Okay. If you need to, you can rewind, watch again how we got to this point. Now I'm gonna show you angles. We will go into individual parts though soon. Okay. So we can have the same guy, but then if you draw him at an angle, things change. It's actually everything that you know kinda just goes out the window. You gotta just relearn how to draw a face. Because every angle of a face is kind of completely new experience and completely new knowledge required. So angles kind of require you to know a little bit of perspective, but it's not like the kind of perspective where, maybe not perspective. Maybe this is more gesture. I don't know which fundamental here is being used. But it's either perspective or gesture, one of those two, I think. Maybe just proportions, I guess. Maybe this falls under proportions. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like those are just technical terms for knowing how to draw things at different distances and different angles, and having them all be positioned properly. Right. So we have smaller eyes. I'm gonna adjust this shape a bit as we go. You start with different things usually. So how you know if you've done a decent job at a face, you can flip horizontal. And you can see this line is a bit wrong. Right? You can fix it. There you go. It's a bit more centered. The eyes are still a bit wonky, but I mean, we saw that the eyes were wonky before. It's not like about getting this 100% right. Like, this line is a bit, like if we took this whole thing, then, I think I duplicated the layer. I didn't even know. Copy and paste. Oh, okay. Well, I just learned something today. So if we rotate this a little bit, now it's a bit more centered. But I think if we flip back, no, it's still a little bit angled, Like the cheeks, if you look, they're not right. They're completely different on one side and the other side. I mean, the longer I look at a thing, the more things I see that I can fix. But this isn't about getting perfect stuff on the page right now. It's about understanding how things work, right? Right. Now, how do I know where to place the ear? I can't really tell you. There's no real way to know for 3/4 angle, I think is called, where to place the ear. This is about a 3/4 angle. I'm not even sure if it's completely 3/4 or not. But yeah, there you go. I think I need to do it a bit more narrow. What's tricky here is placing the eye so that it's not too close to the ear. That's the only tricky part. But I think that's more due to the fact that I didn't do like a circular. I did more of this kind of shape. So you might not have that problem. Okay. Now we gotta do the other eye. Now, when things become angled, they aren't supposed to be symmetrical. You don't want the eye to be exactly the same length. You don't want the eye to be exactly the same thing. Now, a good rule, I think this is something you can use to verify whether or not the eyes make sense. I know I personally figured this out over time, but if you have an eye, right, and you have like an angle, right, as long as if you do like this kind of line, as long as they're the same, like this, like it will most likely, I can't guarantee, but most likely, if they are the same height but not the same length, the eye will look fine. That's in my experience. Now, obviously, what's important, right, is that if you have one eye like this, you don't have one eye like this, or like this, right? You don't want you know the the degrees matter, like how it's the angle the angle matters. So how do you know what angle to do? Well, that's easy, right? When you do your beginning circle thing, you know, that's when you're like, okay, am I going for this angle, right? Or am I going for this angle, right? And then based on that, you either do, so if you do this angle, you just do this, right? If you do this angle, you have to do the same thing, but, you know, horizontally. And then you know, okay, this is the angle you need. As long as the eyes kind of on this line, they'll be at the right angle. Now if you draw this middle line long, like this, you know, that's obviously not right. I mean, even if you do this, right? Now both of these lines technically aren't wrong, by the way. Because this would be a line you would use if the character was facing downwards, right? Technically, if you're splitting it this way, right? This would be like the forehead area, basically. This whole area would be the, and the eyebrows would be like here and here. And then the nose would be here. And it's harder to draw any angle where when you're looking down or up, because then you have to really know how to draw facial features. Maybe that makes no sense. Anyway, I don't think I should be covering up-down angles because they might be a bit too difficult. This might end up being quite a long episode in the end because I haven't even gotten to the parts that I want. But that's fine, you know. Slightly longer. I think most people, when they start art, for some reason they like going and just drawing faces and stuff. I guess the thing is that people like heads. Like the first thing you look at on an image is you try to find the face, right? So maybe it's biological. You just want to know how to do faces first, or maybe you just like looking at faces while you're drawing. Yeah. Maybe most people just think if I can draw a nice face, I can draw nice. And it's definitely true, you know. If you're good at drawing heads, then it doesn't matter so much how bad your bodies are. Because for the most part, a nice face makes a nice image, you know? But if you have a wonky body, that can still ruin your image. You kind of have to balance everything out. Don't just draw one thing forever. Like people do only headshots or only bust up shots or waist up because they're too scared to do a full body because it seems intimidating and frustrating, and because they don't know how to do it, they give up before they even try it. Right? It's too much. It's too much information, and they just skip it. But almost everyone does. No, actually, any person who draws characters I would say that's draw heads. So, there you go. I can't explain to you really like what the logic about how to shape a head at an angle is, but I can give you sort of like why I'm doing this. This no, it's okay. Okay. So here's the reason, right? If you remember here, I said that this kind of shape, and this is where the eyebrow is, right? Now, the more at an angle you go, the more this little dimple here. I call it like a little dimple because it's like it is like a little. It's a little bump. It's a little bumpy bump, right? And usually your eyebrow is on this bump, honestly. Like so the more at an angle you are, the more bumpy this bump is. The bigger it gets. I mean, it never becomes like this kind of bump, you know. But unless you have a tumor on your eyebrow, maybe there are exceptions. But yeah. If you look at the eyebrow, I'm kind of doing the thing that I said not to do, right? But I'm not gonna draw like a full eyebrow. I'm just indicating that there is one there. And I could do like a triangle pupil, just for fun. Why not? Just there you go. I think I did see a few anime where like they actually just do triangle pupils. Which is good. You know? Now, how do you draw a nose at an angle? That might be a bit tricky, right? And to be honest, I think I have to fix the chin because it's like behind the nose. So I like, you know, it would have to be like this, right? And you can help yourself with a line like that too. Just fix your own face that way too, if it's wrong. There you go. Now it looks right. Okay. Now the chin isn't concaved. I think is the word. Okay. Now we do lips. I don't think for lips it's too difficult. So you have technically two halves of the lip, right? And when it's at an angle, you just make one side longer than the other side, right? So if I put it in half, right? This part is shorter, and then this part is longer. Don't make it too much different. Just slightly longer for one side than the other, you know? And same thing with the nose, right? Now, with the nose, since it's a bigger kind of shape, I think it does obfuscate part of the nose while it's at an angle. So you need to figure out if that obfuscation is strong enough to actually make the nose like ridge a hard line. You know, like if it's a side shot, then you don't do a soft nose shape, you do a hard nose shape. And every part of it is kind of a hard shape at that point. The only exception obviously is like this little monkey bump for your nostrils. Yeah, your nostrils are a bit less pronounced in this condition. But besides that, everything else is a hard one. Now you can have another line here. That's about it. I mean, I will do a side face anyway, so there's no point drawing this in there. But you can have a hard line here, just to further indicate that this is an angle. Yeah, that's about it. You can have a soft line for the other side. There we go. One thing I'll say about the lip that I did. This is a bit off. Okay. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Usually the bottom part of the lip is thicker than the top part of the lip. So you can have like this kind. And again, we're going to erase part of the lip. Just indicate that it's there. It doesn't have to be. I don't think, regardless of what angle you draw the lip, it will never be a hard line. It's always soft lines. If you do any outlining of it, you always do it softly. And then only give it a little bit of shape where it's like this ridge here, you can always kind of have a line there. You can even do this. And another thing I think we have to do is take this and move it back a bit. There we go. I think it looks better. There you go. So that's how you do like an angled. Now, a few things I would change maybe is that this is a bit too big. This part. Yeah. You tweak things. But that kind of stuff is usually covered by here. Oh yeah. Usually just covered by here. Now, because it's an angled shot, you don't have to draw the other ear, right? So that's, I guess, one advantage you can have while doing this. Now, the nose does look a bit flat here. If you want it to be less flat, all you have to do is draw, let's see, flat like this. So there you go. That's how I draw it a bit less flat than what I did here. You can also just erase this. I'll show you on the actual nose on that. So just angle this a bit more. There you go. It's a bit sharper now. Easy fix. Alright. We did a front, we did the angle. These ones are usually let's say this is like hard. Let's say this one's easy. Last one. The side shots. The side shot. The side shot. Let's start with the circle this time. Okay. Now, important to note that doing these lines, means nothing on a side shot. It's actually, you don't have a way to do it, to separate the thing, right? The only thing you can do is draw a circle, then draw this. Okay? You see? It has to be this kind of triangle. It doesn't have to be an exact triangle. You can do it like this. So, I'll erase it and draw the other way. You can do like this shape. You can curve it already. Then you can sort of do like a jawbone kind of shape. You get basically what you need. Now from this shape, just figure out where you want the nose. Maybe you can actually use it. Yeah, I guess you can just put the circle in half. That will kind of work. But if you can see, I didn't do like a horizontal, I did kind of an angled one. So, it's not exact. I couldn't do this, right? Even though that's where I'm placing the... well, it's not really the half point, but I guess it works. You don't need this line. It doesn't tell you anything, really, like this line. So, how do you draw a side view? You can do a triangle for the nose. Then you can do another triangle for the lips. Then you have your chin. Right? Now with your chin, it's up to you what kind of chin you want. And usually here is where you have your neck. There you go. You already have kind of what you need to get started, right? Then you can erase all of this. Habib. Maybe you like to have a bit extra circle to the back of your head. Maybe you do. Up to you. Maybe you want this kind of shape. Which works. That's fine. Okay. Now remember, the more angled, the more the dimple, right? And we want this to go a bit more angled. Okay. See? We're getting somewhere, right? Now we have the little dimple for the eyebrow. So we know that the eyebrow is like here, right? Okay. Eyes are right below the eyebrow, where the nose ridge kind of is off. I drew some huge eyes there, so instead of redrawing, what I'll do, I'll select, I'll make them small. We got our eye, our singular eye. Okay, nose. All we gotta do is erase a little bit of this. Okay. Got that. Lips. Lips are easy. Just do like a smile. And then we do boom. Now, why don't we do it like here and here, right? Obviously, because the lip part isn't the whole part of the shape. Because you have a little bit under your lips is like a little bit, and above your lips is a little bit. That's why it's like this. And a lot of people draw this wrong because of that specifically, because they just make the lips part of everything. But only like at the side angle, I think, is where people mess that up. Side angles can be a bit confusing to some people and sometimes not, you know. It's, like I said, every angle you draw, is a completely new experience. And it's really hard to gauge how to do every angle until you've done it enough or until you've kind of filled with it. Yeah. You'll have to learn every angle on its own. It won't be like you know how to draw one angle and now you can draw all angles. That will never happen. You have to, each angle you do, it's kind of its own skill. Sure, like you have like a general skill of art, like the more drawings you do, the more you know how to do things. And even if you're not doing something specifically, you might still improve at that thing, because while you're doing other things, you're still improving your knowledge on perspective and how to draw basic shapes, how to draw nice lines and stuff. So even if you're not directly doing a thing, you're still learning skills that will help you make that thing. So I'm gonna fix this nose a little bit, because it seems a bit too like one camera. Like I don't want this, right? This isn't a nose. That's not a nose. This might be. Giving it a little bit of a curve here. Just a little bit. Then we'll add in the little ding dong dangle bang shape with nostrils. And now I'll just erase until I feel it myself. There we go. We got ourselves a human. Sorry. I think I'm gonna fix this a bit. This be a bit more. Remember, you don't want to mess the lips. There we go. Oh, sorry. Okay, I messed up something. The eyes aren't that way actually. This when you have a side shot, either usually this. Jeez. That's a bit bad. That's fine. I remembered. Yeah. Okay. Because you don't see the whole eye. You only see half of the eye. Yeah. I think this is like this. Like this. This. Most of this is still white, you know? It's like more of a seed or something. Ren 8008. I'm drawing with just white on blue. That's what I'm doing. Alright. Well, that covers, I think, how to do heads from the three main angles that everybody draws. I'll call this medium. So, you're starting off just a front view is usually the easiest, because all you have to do is do half of the face right, and you can copy paste the other half, and it's good. And you can usually get away with just having it be completely symmetrical, and usually it'll look fine symmetrical, though real faces aren't symmetrical, so keep that in mind if you're going for realism. Then you have the 3/4 angle, which is very common because usually you draw a character at that kind of angle. And that angle is the hardest to learn. And then you have the side view, which has a little bit more than the front view in difficulty, but it's definitely easier than a 3/4 view because you can skip a lot. You only have to draw one eye, one ear, half of a nose, and half of a lip. And as long as you have the head shape correct, it'll look fine usually. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to draw the eye. The only part that you might have trouble with is getting like the mouth right, because it's a bit finagly, and maybe the nose. But even that, because it's less work to get this kind of shot drawn, you might have an easier time. But definitely, like, just straight out, just looking straight ahead is the easiest thing to draw. Now we'll go individual, right? Okay. So we have individual parts of a head, right? But the most important thing are definitely eyes. So how do you draw a nice eye? You have multiple ways to draw eyes. I'll show you like a realistic eye first, and then we'll go more anime. Okay. So you have eyelashes, right? Eyelashes change based on the angle. So when it's on this side, they go like this, and the more they come to the center, they become straight. And then on this side, they go like this. So when they're at an angle, they curve. And then when they're straight ahead, they're just a straight line. The more straight ahead they are, the shorter they are too. So if you're going for a realistic view, keep that in mind. Okay. And then same thing at the bottom here. Yeah. Boom, boom. There we go. Okay. So those are eyelashes, right? Then you have eyelids. Eyelids, you just indicate that they're there. Don't do like full lines for them. Usually you don't even outline eyelids. So usually with eyelids, like you can have like this kind of line, like a little bit of skin. You know, that's usually fold here. There's like little what are they called, wrinkles under like eyes and stuff. But usually you only either slightly outline the wrinkles or like the bend here. This part, it's like a little dimple too, right? Then you have an eye like this. Right. Technically, this is your eyelid, and then you have like an eyebrow here. Maybe it's anyway. So you can indicate the eyelid, or you don't have to. If you're going more cartoony, you can definitely skip that. Yeah. But if you're going like as much detail as possible, maybe you're drawing an old person, just indicate the wrinkles and then do the rest with shading. You really just need to shade it properly. Okay, so when you have this thing, right? This part obviously is black because there's no light. And then this thing is like colored. Now, if you look close at an eye, let me draw another one. Look close at an eye. I need a smaller brush. So, if you really look close, it looks like roots. Just interwoven roots. But it depends how detailed you want it. But like the texture is like tree roots. So like, you draw it like roots basically. It's hard to show on this black and white, but yeah. There you go. So, but if you just want like a simple thing, you can just do like a few. Then what I usually do is I blur them a little bit. So that they're just like kind of clearly there. And you can do more of them, you can do less of them. Yeah, I wouldn't use line art for this, I would use like a colored thing and just have them kind of blend. The more of them you do, the more you have to make sure that it looks like a texture and not just lines. But yeah. So there you go. Now I use white here. I think what we'll do to show this properly, I'm gonna have to swap from my blue-white format to a white format. So what I'll do is boom, boom, boom. I'll do some trickery here. Some good old trickery. And then boom. Oh. Yeah, maybe not the whole image. How about that? Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Boom, boom. Alright. Use black here. Actually, before I use black here, I will select this. Let's cut, paste. Okay. Let's change the color to actually blue this time. I'll just change the color of this a little bit. Okay. And now I'll just drop a perfect circle in the middle. Okay. There we go. Oh, here's our eye, right? Now, I don't know if I want to cover how to shade an eye, but we'll just do it. I just show you the whole spiel. Okay. You have an eye. An eye is circular, so you have to shade it in a circular fashion. Okay. I'm using black, but don't use black for shading. That's a no-no. Always use colors. I know exactly what I want from what I'm doing, so I'm gonna work a little bit laziness. Just a little bit. So, here's our base. I think I'll also blur this part a little bit. It's not really, I mean, it is sharp, but it looks better blurred, in my opinion. Okay, multiply, and reduce a little bit. So that gives it a little bit of shape, right? Then we add another thing, light. Now, people usually do like 2 circles. I'm just gonna draw like a little beam. Indicate both direction and location. Then you can also add another one. below if you want. And what this does is it gives it kind of a more, I don't know actually. Like, I don't know why adding these lights just instantly make the eye look way better. But you have to add these lights into the eye based on where you think your light source is. And I'll explain that when I do actually make a video on shading and lighting. But you usually pick a direction where the light is coming from, and then on the eye you have to know where the light sources would hit the eye, and that's where you draw these white parts. Now you can also just draw them and not care about where your light source is, because when you look at the image, people who know this will obviously maybe they'll call you out, maybe they won't, but like when you look at it, it doesn't tell you that something is wrong if the lighting on the eye is positioned wrong. And eyes always look better with these lights in them. So even if you're like in a dark cave and there's no light, if you add this to the eye, it's still gonna look better, even though it's not supposed to be there. But that's just personal preference. Now, you darken the edge of the eye, right? That's step one. Then you also darken the area around the black part, the dark part of the eye. So do this. Usually that gives it a little bit more of a 3D feel. Right? And then I think I'm gonna actually just fill this up with blue again, because it's bothering me. It's not done exactly right. It's like distracting me, basically. Okay. So then after you've added the shading around, now you can add lighting to the actual shape of the eye. So after that, just pick a lighter color than your eye color. I'm gonna do a specific layer effect that enhances it even more, but if you don't know how to do it, just you can just do it by picking a color that is bright enough and the same type. You could also just do white, but if you do white, you're going to mute the color of the eye, and it's not gonna look as nice as it could. So just do one little around the eye, and then I'm going to blur it, and you should blur it too, whichever way you can. If you're traditional, obviously just if you're traditional, you kind of have to do it a completely different way. If you're actually coloring, you can use white paint or white markers. But if you are, actually, I don't know if you can use white markers. I think if you're doing it traditionally, what you have to do is you just leave the middle part of the eye uncolored, and then you just put in this shading around it, and then the part that you left out, you just color in with a lighter color than you want to start with. You kind of just you start with a dark color for the edges, and then yeah. So this is how you would draw like a kind of a more realistic eye, right? Now, obviously, you need the lines inside. And let me try. me show you what I mean. Okay. We're getting to a lot of layers there. I'm gonna use like a filter at the end. He's kind of doing like a texture, right? Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, maybe more. Yeah, there you go. See? Now we have the same kind of effect you would have on the eye. It's a bit less detailed than if you like really look at an eye, and you could spend hours on it if you really want a really nice eye. But this is how you draw like a realistic eye. Now we're gonna move on to a more anime looking eye. So with anime, you have a lot of different types. I'll do one of the circular ones, and then I'll do one of the more. Actually, I guess the circular one is more like this. So the bottom part is always flat with anime eyes. Almost always. There's probably exceptions, but anime, if it's actual like anime eyes, they're like this. And cartoon eyes, they can just be like this. They can just be dots. And sometimes they're like this. Maybe with like an eyelash if it's female. The same with this. And that is the way usually cartoons indicate that it's a female. If it's not shown on the body itself, if it's not a feminine kind of body, they show it by just adding an eyelash to the eye. Right. Now, this kind of eye type is usually for female characters because they have big eyes, and with male characters, it's usually like angry and small eyes. So usually they like doing like this kind of eye. Now you can turn this into a female eye by just adding eyelash, like a big eyelash. And like obviously males and females have the same kind of eyelashes, but the bigger like if you draw giant eyelashes, then usually it'll look like female eyes. Is that just how we're trained to look at it? I don't know why. But if you draw big eyelashes, just drawing eyelashes in general usually makes it look a bit more feminine. Now you could do this eye and just draw like little eyelashes. Just like small. You just indicate that they're there, like not really, not really the focal point. Maybe you have this end, or actually slightly bigger. I've seen these kind of male anime eyes as well. So you can have eyelashes and still have a male character. It's just if you draw big ones, it'll usually make it look like a female. Usually. Or at least people will assume that it's a female with more of a male body type, even if, So just keep that in mind. Now, with this kind of eye, the pupil is usually like this. Okay. Now, with anime eyes, you don't do this. You don't draw the middle part that gets rid of light. Right. Okay. Another very important thing with anime eyes, you don't actually outline the entire eye. There we go. So what you do is boom. Not gonna drop too many more eyelashes. Usually 2 or 3 is enough. Like you can add more if you want. It depends how burly you want it. Usually the more eyelashes, the more burly they are. You can have personality that way to your character. If you want it to be more burly, you can add more eyelashes. If they're a very spoiled kind of girly character, maybe just go over the top on the lashes. Just give them like a ton of eyelashes, strong lipstick, stuff like that. I don't know. It's up to you. Okay, we have like the base of the eye. Now, like I said, you don't outline the whole thing, so you just get rid of the sides here. Always arcs into like a spike, right? And then with the bottom part, you can have another like thing like here. And you can usually also add eyelashes here if you want. It's optional. Again, depends how you want it to look. You can draw these eyes without eyelashes too if you want. And still make real characters. Just remember, eyelashes optional. You don't have to draw them unless you're going for like realistic eyes. And that's about it. Yeah, that's the only time where I'd say kind of required if you're going for realism. Okay, now here we have an eye, and I'm gonna color it. I'm gonna go with yellow, like an orangey kind of yellow. We'll just use pure yellow. And it does look good on blue, mostly because we went slightly into the orange. Now, a little color theory thing. Blue and orange go really well together, so I'll keep that in mind. That's why also kind of yellow and blue also kind of work. I would recommend if you're doing this in a program and you're coloring that you separate your iris and your eye white layer wise, so that then like you see I don't have to pay attention to how the yellow is. I can just draw over it without the white going there. Okay, this is how you would usually draw like an anime eye, right? Let me just fill in this will be relevant later. If you're not shading, right, this is already like a finished eye, right? I can show you how I usually shade eyes, and for me it looks good. So usually I take a color. I'm gonna use clipping layers. I'm not gonna explain what those are. I've used them before already. So now with yellow, I don't like using yellow for shading yellow. What I like to use is orange. It just works better, trust me. Just use orange. You could use green as well, but then you'll get like a weird kind of yellow. And I don't know if you'll like that kind of yellow. And I just blur, right? And then I like to do 2 multiply layers. But you get the gist here. You take a darker color, and then you blur it, and then you take another darker color, and then you blur it. So first you take half of the eye, you take a dark color, you darken it, then you blur it, then you only take like a little bit of at the top, and then you take that and you blur it. Now that's how I do it. You could, and I see that a lot, instead of doing this, what some animes do is they actually make the eye go towards the color of the line art. So they do this. Honestly, like this is sometimes, in some cases, this is like a finished eye, and then they just do this. Yeah. And that's it. That's the eye. Yeah. But, more likely than not, it's like, and I like shaded this way. I'm going to use a spray brush because, you want the edges to also be filled in like this. And then usually what they do is they add the eye like this. Then they sometimes they also do that a little bit. And all they need to do is, add lighting, and it's done. And the reason why they do it this way is because it's really fast. And it looks fine. But, yeah, let's do it that way. So, this is how I start. Then, I make a new layer. And I take another dark orange color. And boom. This is like the iris one. And we blur that too. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Right? You could say this is done, but we're not done yet. This isn't done yet. Okay. We got the shading onto the eye. Now we add the lighting. Okay? The reason, this time we do actually use yellow. And we use a brighter yellow than our base. I just do this kind of, I can't show it. Okay, I'll just show it. So I usually just do this kind of line. Now you kind of want it to be like similar thickness. You don't want one part to be like this and then this, You want it to be like, sometimes it's hard to get it, especially with like a big brush like this. But yeah. Okay, so I do kind of like, this, kind of like that. Then what I do is I take blur. That gives it that extra depth. And add glow. Now sometimes I'll move it around if I don't like where it is. And I usually reduce how strong the layer is coming through. There we Another thing that I sometimes do, and sometimes don't, depending on how I feel about it. I have the same thing inside the iris. Depending if I want it or not, you know. It's optional. Sometimes I feel it looks good, sometimes I don't. It really depends on the drawing. And then all we need is the beans. There we go, we got an eye, right? Now, with the cartoony eyes, the reason why I left them and colored them in is what usually they do in cartoons is they have this, and then what they'll do is they'll just add lighting to it, like a little bit, and then for this kind of eye it'd probably be like this, maybe like smaller ones, like this, you know. So that's what they usually do in cartoons. I think that covers eyes pretty well. I think I already explained how to do ears separately. I'll just do another quick rundown for ears because it's pretty easy. So with ears, it's always like this. You draw a hook. You draw a hook. Then the top is spiky and it gets wider as you go down. Right? Then on the bottom of the hook, you do the little half circle thing for the ear. And then you do boom, boom. And there you go. That's your ear. Right there. And then you do like a little thing here. There you go. That's how you draw an ear, right? I mean, it's not like a super detailed ear. It's just like that's basically it. I mean, there's not much more to ears. You don't need to draw these two lines if you don't wanna. I usually just do one. That's it. Like, if I don't like it, I delete it too. Sometimes what I think looks better is if you just do like this. Like, you know, bats have like ears like this. Or they have like this. And usually it looks better that way. But yeah, so that's, actually I don't have to read this. That's for ears. For nose. Noses are kind of hard. I don't think I personally even know how to draw them properly. Anime noses, you just do this. You just do like a spike. Then maybe you do this line, or maybe you do this line, and that's it. And then you do this, and there's your anime nose. You know, cartoons sometimes do this kind of nose. You know, or they do. What else? You could also just do this. A little dot here. You could do no nose. That's also a thing you can do with anime faces. No nose. Especially with chibis, that is very common. A lot of anime, when you look straight forward, because this kind of nose does not fit a straightforward angle, they just don't draw a nose. And it usually looks fine, because it's anime, so, yeah. What else? Noses. Can I tell you? Right. So when you sketch a nose, if you're like really unsure how to do it, just do this kind of shape. I think that this is a useful thing to show. You can do this, okay? Right, and then you just shape it, you know? Just shape it, shape it. You can loop around the shape. Okay? So you see you already have like a decent shape. Now the only thing that might be a bit difficult is like this part here. In the front, like the little bumpy bump. It might be a bit hard to get right. Yeah, that's basically it. That's how you draw a nose at the front. At an angle, it's obviously different, you know, I already explained. And a side view of a nose really shouldn't be any problem for anyone. It's just this, and it already looks fine, you know. This is the side view of a nose. I mean, you shouldn't have too much difficulty with it, honestly. I mean, if you do, you know, let me know. But yeah, covered ears, nose, eyes, mouth. Mouth is the last one. Okay, let's do one mouth. One mouth. Okay. What is the logic of drawing a mouth? You want to draw a triangle at the top. You do like kind of a circular thing for the bottom. Okay? The bottom is bigger than the top. Right. Not always true, but I'd say most of the time. Okay? Then the spiky part, you make like a little curve here, you erase it, and there you go. That's a mouth. The only hard part about the mouth is knowing which lines to erase and which ones not to. And honestly, like I can, you know, there's no real way to explain that other than just you have to try it out and see how it looks and keep playing around with it. Same thing with the nose. I can't really tell you which lines to keep and erase. You know, it really depends how you view it and how you like it. Like you could erase this part here and keep that part, or you could erase this part here and keep that part. You know, it all kind of works together in tandem. Like based on what you erase where, you keep other parts and you delete other parts. You know, like if you erase too much, you know, you might just lose the entire shape. Like right here. But that's fine, you know. You can always add stuff. Now, if you want more detailed looks, you can add stuff here. So those are just like wrinkles on lips usually. But the problem if you draw those is that you might make it look like fish lips in the end. So do be careful with that. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. I covered realistic eye, anime eye. I'm not going to teach you how to do every single eye. There are so many eye variations. But this is like the most common eye in anime. and this is like just a normal eye. Then you have like a male version of an eye. That's also pretty common, and that's it. I mean, you don't really need more than that to draw a face. I think if you just followed along with the free angles that I drew, and with the eyes specifically, you should be fine. Drawing anime eyes at an angle, I will warn, sometimes is very hard because it doesn't follow human anatomy. It has its own kind of rules. Because if you think about it, if an eye was this big on like this kind of skull, or like this kind of head size, you know? Oh well, it's kind of like even bigger in a way. If it's like that big, right? And it's a sphere, right? Or it's a sphere, right? You know, you have to keep in mind that at a side angle, right, this thing would be like fucking huge. Like think about it this way, right? Like, and this is like a nose, and then this is the mouth. It'd be gigantic. This one. It might be even bigger than what I drew here, but it's just gigantic, right? And then you have to also draw this part, right? It looks very, very unsettling. So personally, I would, if you do draw a side view, always just draw this kind of eye rather than the actual size it would be from the side. It is just not gonna look good otherwise. I mean, it does also look a bit weird. Yeah. It just looks like a cyclops, you know? Alright, well, that'll be it. Follow my YouTube, my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Crimellgrim, or YouTube. I don't know the YouTube URL actually. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.